Feel those nerves, you feel the pressure, it just takes you, your hands are shaking, half step, millisecond longer to make the decisions you need to. And right now, Pedro, I think, can feel the momentum falling in his favor.
Princess slowly moving to the right, protects with the Valkyrie.
Yeah,
Magic
you
Archer
can see the way that
lane.
he's placing his units, Rich. He's scared of that Magic Archer NATO situation.
And gonna eat a little damage here is Pedro with that choice.
Yeah, the dummy gobs end up doing a decent amount of damage, 24-52 to 24-41. I mean, the other side of this conversation, while we've been speaking the praises of Pedro, is that the damage can stack up a lot faster for Ta than it can for Pedro, unless he gets a great Magic Archer lineup.
Oh, and that Princess stays out of range, so forcing a little bit extra.
Yeah, wow.
And she's gonna get a shot on tower. That was a great sequence for Ta.
And another Princess right back down. Ta has been hyper aggressive with these, now gonna get a couple Magic Archer shots in, but Pedro's just been a little bit off on taking care of those princesses, Rich.
Here we go, sudden death overtime. Fairly close, 19:45 on the bottom right-hand side, 21-73 top left.
And again, if you are going to play decks like this, you need to play them perfectly. You need to prove that you are top 3 in the world with decks like this if you're going to bring them out in CRL. And right now, Pedro not quite showing that. 1945, 21-73.
It's going to be interesting as we get late game here. If this thing is very close, the pace that Ta can put on with the barrels.
Yeah, exactly, man. I feel like the pressure late game is going to be in favor. Is there a lineup? There's a lineup. There's a lineup.
Oh,
there's the lineup.
Boy. Snowball to cover, but damage done.
And this keeps happening. He keeps trying to take out the princess with the spears, and they keep getting protected. He has to spend just a little bit more elixir. It still ends up being 3 for 3, but it's more about the attention it's pulling from you, and then maybe you need one of those cards somewhere else.
Ta starting to pull away a little bit. 18-18, bottom left-hand side. Final minute, triple elixir. This is where things get interesting. You have the NATO, the Log, and the Magic Archer. So much you can do so quickly with that situation. Here we go, exactly. Magic Archer for the Valk, the block.
Double block.
Yeah, there we go. Very nicely done. One shot will get through. 1865, still behind with 40 seconds to go.
Neither of them have a champion to take advantage of that 3-card cycle, which is something that I bet both of them would love to have at the moment. Dark Goblin on top of that Magic Archer. Magic Archer does not stay alive.
And this bridge play, this back and forth that we're going to see, the cannon, great job.
I mean, you're doing exactly what you have to do. If you ever lose in one of these matchups, right there, boom, another connection. Pedro back in the lead, 3 shots in.
15 seconds left. Now Ta has no choice but to go as hard as possible. Log gets in. There is no 3-card cycle,
There's no way,
folks.
Rich.
Oh my word. The recovery, the guts. Pedro getting it done in 2, and he will stay alive at World Finals.
Ta just having a rough go of it, going 0-4 in his World Finals run. Riley, then the former world number 2 in Pedro. He just found out what CRL World Finals is all about.
And what a moment for Pedro. We know he was devastated last night, saw him needing some consolation, and to come back out today, and also a big win for both Pedro and Jebus to come out after kind of some of the mishaps of yesterday to pick so well and really put Ta in a tough spot.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Pedro and his interpreter. I know the interpreter was a big part of Pedro being able to get back into the right mindset. We are not going to be doing an interview with Pedro. I believe there was a little bit of maybe a sprained ankle or some situation like that, so we wish her the best and the fastest recovery possible. I'm sure Pedro, though, would be loving to celebrate right now, but he's going to have to do it backstage, take a big, deep breath, and he's got to come back out a little bit later.
And that's the big thing, is Pedro's not done on the day. Yesterday it was mostly one and done, except for 2 of our competitors. Today, everyone, unless you win in the upper bracket, pretty much everyone's going twice today. So it's a lot of stress, a different bit of preparation, and now you got to sit back and wait to see who you'll face in the next round because you don't exactly know.
And this is exactly what we loved out of Pedro last year. It was the first time he was on stage, but you saw the micro, the macro. There's some small mistakes there, but it never felt like cascading mistakes. Whereas Ta felt like he could never find his footing throughout this entire set. It felt like he was always just 1 or 2 steps behind. Obviously, game number 1, really, really tough matchup. Here in game number 2, I feel like it's a little bit more even, especially late game. We were talking about those barrels being a bit of a problem, but the great thing was Pedro found incredible ways to create so much pressure at the bridge that Ta couldn't spend his elixir anywhere else.
And Ta doesn't have any true answer to the Magic Archer here.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So what we saw was tremendous. We saw some moving the Magic Archer with the snowball. We saw some great catches and redirects. But eventually, that's going to get you. There is no stopping that forever if you don't have a true answer, and we saw that as it played out for the win.
Yeah, and then just, Pedro knowing when to take a little bit of damage here, a little bit of damage there, not slipping too far behind. That's the biggest problem that can happen when you're playing decks like that, is when you find yourself several hundred HP behind instead of just a few, And we're going to look at the bracket here to see where Pedro moves on to.
And he will take a step forward, and you talk about the stress. He is awaiting the loser of match 7, so he will face either Mohamed Light or Lucas later today in our second to last matchup. That's going to be a tough one to prepare against. And then after that, we'll see who goes up against Elsiop from our other matchup. But man, goodbye to Ta, goodbye to Gariko as our first 2 players out.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely a tough one for the Japanese players here at our 2024 World Finals. Similarly, last year to our German players. I don't know what it is about that, but a great showing from both of them throughout the year, and obviously still a lot of cash in their pockets as they go back home.
Well, match number 1 in the books. Now to the upper bracket for our marquee matchup of the day. Juicy J, let's go.
The only person to win a monthly final back-to-back without a coach, going up against the person who is seeking his second world championship title. These 2 friends were arguing over who's gonna have to make the lower bracket run. It is Lucas versus Mohamed Light.
And 2 friends find themselves on other sides of the podium, on opposite ends of the stage, both of them trying to stay out of that lower bracket. As Juicy just said, they were laughing yesterday, kind of joking around. Who is going to do the lower bracket run? You're doing it, Mo. This is your call card. This is your call sign. You've done this before. Mo telling Lucas, dude, I've done it enough. It's your turn to do the lower bracket run. AC, how you feeling about this? As Rich said, marquee matchup. This is what Serial Dreams are all about.
I mean, my hands are sweating just getting ready for this. I can't imagine the emotions that both of these players are having right now. I mean, Mohamed Light, what is there to say about him? Mr. 79% overall win rate. And Lucas, on the other hand, he's played well so far in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both of them found a bit of adversity yesterday. I think Mohamed Light, it's funny. Obviously, everyone in your first match, you can go down to the lower bracket, but it's become such a conversation that, and I think Mohamed Light's mother is here in the audience. We're gonna see, there she is, cheering on her son. She's been here year after year after year. You can see she's locked in. She's not even paying attention to the camera, as is her son. But as I was saying yesterday, they both played through a lot of adversity. Mohamed Light, there's almost this, hanging over his head, this cloud of that first round going to the lower bracket. You guys at home don't think that's gonna seem to affect him at all today. And then Lucas, on the other side of it, had a big mistake in game 1 that cost him, right? The early ability on the Goblinstein. Yep. Mo drops game number 2 from Elsiop playing his comfort deck. They both battled through so much adversity. That's what was so great yesterday, winning their sets 2-1. It wasn't an easy 2-0 for both of them. The lights didn't get to them, the pressure didn't get to them, and now we're in this insane matchup between these 2.
Yeah, I am so excited to start, so why not do it? Game 1 underway.
just some very impressive stuff from, I was able to talk to Jules, I was able to talk to Alan a little bit about that Game 1 matchup with Mo and Elsiop, and, it was a lot closer to even than maybe some of us would have thought. It did seem like at the end of the day, the conversation was in favor of Elsiop, but we know that doesn't matter. You want 80-20s versus Mohamed Light. And Lucas on the other side of it, you saw how well he pulled things together in that Game 3 against Grieco with that Golden Knight freeze NATO at the very end. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And here we go. Momo comes out. Looks like they could both be running lava.
Yeah, I mean, we see Mohamed Light shake his head, or nod his head, and then stare directly into Lucas's eyes. It could be the case, both players. Skeleton Dragons, Gob Cage from Lucas, Gob Cage, and Lava from Mo. I can guarantee you Mo is running Lava.
Yeah, it's a good call, AC, as it is on the board. And one thing I'm thinking about here is that the analysts maybe not looking for a mirror matchup in game number 1. I don't know if you're really ever looking for that type of thing, so we'll have to see how things play out here. 29-44, 27-15. First little bout in the books.
Yeah, Arrow's always a very important card in Lava mirror matches, so we're going to have to see what the final cards for Mohamed Light are. Lightning, Arrows, the spells for Lucas. Still unsure what Mohamed Light is running on his end.
And a bit of a pause here as Mo sets up the Evo cage. Lucas goes, all right, time for me to drop my first Lava Hound. I don't think we'll see 4 Lava Hounds on the board, and there you go, Lucas just going, wow, of all things that I had to run into, Lightning is out, Inferno Dragon is in, and this is going to be difficult to deal with as this game goes on.
Yeah, Mohamed Light clearly well-versed in this matchup. You want to place the Inferno Dragon as often as you can, going against the opposing Lava Hounds, and then just put your own Lava Hound in front. You're always going to be able to defend, and you're always going to get at least a little baby counter push, and we see it right here, but Lucas going to clean up everything nicely and still have a few things on the board.
Well, AC, we've got 2 kind of X-Factor cards. The Inferno, as you were just talking about in this matchup, and then the other one is the card on the board right now in the Flying Machine. Not a great way to get on top of that Flying Machine and support the Lava Hound in the way that you would like.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume with double elixir, if you're going same lane, Lucas is always going to be able to win because you have the Flying Machine, the Lightning to snipe the opposing Inferno Dragon. I love how Mohamed Light is approaching this matchup, going opposite lane and then placing his own Inferno Dragon. Let's see if Lucas is going to be able to protect it. Not going to be the case, and that Inferno Dragon from Mohamed Light going to get a ton of value right here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're talking about there, AC. Baited out in the opposite lane. Now the push dies on the vine. 1960, 24-04. Bomber now set up on the right-hand side. Now going in the same lane are Lucas and Mohamed Light. We'll see if Lucas ends up letting this go. Lightning comes in. Mo thinks that's a good idea. Ish, I would say by the look on his face. Bomber here looking for some damage. Josh getting a nice shot in.
Yeah, right there. Predictive Inferno Dragon. He places it a full second early in the exact wrong timing for Lucas. Still places the Lava Hound down on the board. Arrow's going to clean up everything very nicely. And, I mean, for the rest of this game, for the entire game, basically, it's just bridge lava after bridge lava, just opposite lanes from both of these players.
1862, 1960, just neck and neck here. Mohamed Light in a slight lead as he sets up Skeleton Dragons on the left-hand side.
Yeah, so it looks like the only difference between these two decks is Inferno Dragon and Flying Machine. And I mean, just looking at it on paper, you always are going to assume the Inferno Dragon is just going to be considerably way better in this matchup.
And you can see here now Luca's going to have to spend a lot defensively here. Also some guards at the bridge just a moment ago. Pressure guards that baited out Lucas's Evo Bombers. So not going to get any Evo Bomber damage from his opponent's Bomber or Cage or guards.
Yeah, right here, Lucas probably going to defensive Lightning, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Flying Machine taken out by Mohamed Light's Inferno Dragon, but Arrows on defense going to clean up everything nicely. Mo Light now taking the lead by 250 HP.
And using the lava to kite, Mo with a little bit of a smile there. That lava just a hair closer than I think it needed to be, though. Takes a lot more HP off. I think if it was one more tile to the left, it still would have kited and maybe not taken as much damage.
Yeah, I really think that's going to be the case, too. And that is a great Lightning from Lucas. Going to take out the Inferno Dragon entirely. Lightning coming down on offense for Mohamed
But no
Light.
arrows for defense there, AC.
And is that Bomber going to squeeze out a shot? Not yet. But still, with only 30 seconds left, Lucas needs to start playing things at the bridge. Gonna go Lava at the bridge, but on the right lane.
Yeah, Desperation Lava there. Flying Machines ends up protecting it, but Inferno's still on the board. Lightning to clean everything up, Guards to pull it away. But the thing is, that Lava's not going to be able to get enough damage in 13 seconds. Lucas knows it's over. Mo wins the mirror match with the Inferno.
8 seconds left. Lucas just going to activate the King Tower. Mo Light going up 1-0. And I can guarantee you that Mo, 5 seconds into the match, knew he won this game. If we could get a replay just on his face, there was a tiny little wry smile from him, and he looked directly into Lucas's eyes saying, hey, I'm winning this one.
Looks like he might have gotten that from his mother's genes there, as you saw, just a little bit of a wry smile out of her as well. Maybe the slightest sigh of relief for Mama Mohamed Light as she sees her son take game number 1 here against a good friend. 12-12, 4.1 to 4.1, but you can see that tower damage just a little bit different in favor of our former world champion. AC, you called it early on. We saw it play all the way through this game. You can see it right there. Bottom left-hand side of both guys, 4 elixir for the Flying Machine, 4 elixir for the Inferno Dragon, and that is the whole story of the match.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what you're supposed to do if you're Lucas, because he played the opening 2 minutes perfectly. He got the damage advantage. He hadn't even played a Lava, and he was up 800 HP.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't really even create a knock on his gameplay whatsoever.
No, I was just going to say, I think he played absolutely perfectly the whole way through, because halfway through or however far away through, 2 minutes, whatever you were saying, he had to start innovating his pushes because there's no way. Mohamed Light had figured out what you said. Yep. He's like, now he needs to go opposite lane. Lucas knew that. He's like, how do I create pressure left, defend right? And then it was baiting out lightnings at the bridge over and over and over, which is always painful to do. You always want to get a little bit of tower damage with that lightning at some point in the game. He only got it very early on.
Yeah, and I mean, he was even able to catch that Inferno Dragon plus the cage plus the Brawler.
I know.
Mean, everything, he was creating defensive maneuvers that we have never seen before with the I mean, it was maybe a tile off, but still, the Lava on defense, he was doing everything he absolutely could, but Mohamed Light, too gifted, too skilled. I mean, just too much practice, really.
Yeah, you know, and now that the lightning is out and Lucas is down 1 game, I think we see him go back to something comfort, maybe even something similar to what we just saw Pedro run. Maybe some sort of minor control, maybe something with AQ in there, because lightning's out. We've seen AQ be very successful. I would still go maybe minor AQ. You know, something that is control-based, that is in Lucas's wheelhouse, and then taking advantage of that lightning being out of cycle, obviously.
Yeah. And the question is, how does Lucas come up with a deck now that he can't just steal one of Mohamed Light's decks? Because basically used all the same cards in that game number 1.
Well, this is where his coach, Alan, is going to definitely earn his money here. Doing a really, really good job. Game number 1, I mean, how hard is it to predict running into a mirror matchup with the Inferno? You know, that's basically a straight-up mirror match that all of a sudden that one card just switches that favor by, what, into a 70-30? What would you call it?
Yeah, 75-25, 70-30? That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Game 2, coming your way. Mo Light, Lucas. Here we go.
You know, I'd like to apologize. I think 70-30 was perfect. I don't need to change anything.
We'll talk about it off broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a really uncomfortable conversation for us.
Mom.
Probably an uncomfortable conversation between these two guys after this match is over, regardless who ends up taking the next 2 games. As we see Momo go in with a minor. Lucas trying to catch with a high knight, ends up getting something out of it. So it looks like he might be going to exactly what we just called Magic Archer NATO.
Yeah, and right there, Lucas, the reason why the Spirit Goblins look so odd is because he was just cycling to that NATO. He was 1 card away. He had to place it high enough where the Spirit Goblins weren't going to try and take out the Miner, instead allowing the King Tower to be activated. So it looked weird, but there was a very specific reason as to why he did it.
AC, being a former pro, when you look at this matchup, when you talk about probably not having a big spell for Lucas and this Monk is a very interesting wrinkle in this equation because of your Spears and your Magic Archer. Does this matchup seem can Lucas play through this? Is the Monk going to be that much of an X factor, not being able to get on top of the Phoenix as well because you don't have any sort of large spell? You don't have a way to target it other than Magic Archer. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's very close I mean, really, if you play it perfectly, the reason why all these pros love these minor Knight, Magic Archer decks is because you can win against anything. It doesn't matter what the matchup is. If you get them in the wrong cycle, if you cycle correctly, the Ice Spirit gets enough value, you can always win a matchup. But I mean, going against Mohamed Light with the Monk, you know he's always going to be one step ahead. You try and NATO the Monk where it goes back to your same side of the arena, so that way you can't have the Crown Tower aggro get on top of it. You know he's just already thinking that.
The NATO back! The NATO back, Knight comes down, gets on top of tower. Monk distracted by the bomb tower, 21-49, 25-65. Goes for the catch to the bridge. Lucas knows he got. Look, Momo may not like the damage he just took, but he doesn't forget that he's still a world champion.
Man, the love between these two players, it's so exciting to see firsthand. I mean, Lucas just smiling immediately. It is, with these top pro players, you know, you're gonna try and predict like 6 different times, and even if you only get one, you know you won that.
Yeah, exactly, and I love to see it here. Magic Archer at the bridge, pulls back the Phoenix. Mo ready though with the Ice Spirit Skellies. I mean, this is absolutely brilliant gameplay from Mo. Problem is, AC, he's focusing so much at the bridge that Lucas is getting a ton of damage down low. So while it might look like brilliant defensive gameplay from Mo, Lucas is doing a really good job baiting things out.
Yeah, so far this Monk has not really been that much of a problem. Lucas, a tenth of a second too late. And that Magic Archer gets taken out, as well as the Spear Gobs. Mohamed Light going to town on this tower.
Wow, and Lucas making a few misplays here, having to use cards that he does not want to defend. Ends up getting the Phoenix on tower, has to use the bomb tower defensively up high, can't get on top of the miner, 18-49, 17-39. Lucas still in the lead here in game number 2 with just under 2 minutes remaining.
Knight to protect. You can never allow the Evo E-Spirit or Ice Spirit to get on top of your tower. It's just going to be too much damage. And that's a Monk and a Phoenix on the left lane. That is just one of the scariest pushes you can have, even though it's supposed to be simple to defend.
Just NATO's back. That Monk, making sure it doesn't cross the bridge, then gets the Knight up high. No Monk ability in, 1702, 1592. Another miner in here from Mohamed Light, going close to the King Tower. Spear Goblin not on top of the egg. Lucas has to spend more. We got 2 Phoenixes on the left-hand side of the board.
And then the Evo Skeletons on the right is going to put in a little bit of work, and that egg, is that going to be another hatch?
Wow.
Not the case. But Mohamed Light screams into the lead, up by 260 HP. Lucas going to need to start getting some offensive pushes, finally bringing it back just a little bit, but this is difficult for him to get damage.
You guys can see the bomb tower placements from Mohamed Light are fascinating. AC, he gets the lineup with the Phoenix though. 2 shots, 3 shots. Mo does not like that, 967. Lucas now screaming back into the lead.
Going in on offense with the miner, Mohamed Light always catching it with the Skellies, the bomb tower helping out as well.
He's not gonna NATO here. No, he does. Momo now, Monk's still alive.
Cycling the Skellies early. Knight at the bridge on the right side. And I mean, Mohamed Light finally gonna take the lead once again, but there's so much going on.
NATO comes down, miner on top of the tower on both sides. 851, 795, 802, 746, 744. Lucas back in the lead. Mo takes it back at 697. Pressure in. 13 seconds remain.
NATO offensively plus the log. Can he catch the miner? He does. Can he block this miner from getting 2 shots? No. The miner gets shots on the tower.
Mo gets it. Mo gets it. 406. 481! The Pharaoh stays on top! Oh my good lord! That is a world championship match right there.
You have to worry about every single inch of the arena for the last minute of the game. How can you possibly worry about this miner, that miner, this miner, that miner? You're only going for 2 crowns. I don't know why there's so many miners.
I don't know how he will be able to compose himself right now, but we're going to hear from him right now. Rich, what on earth did we just see?
Okay, let's start with the most important question. Mohamed, are you okay? That came absolutely down to the wire. We're in that game number 2. You see that you're up against Magic Archer NATO. You know how hard it is to play that matchup at the bridge. What was the key to you pulling that out in such an exciting fashion?
I think I got lucky to win, to be honest.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and obviously you're both. Now we have you on your way to the last day of Clash Royale League World Finals. You have that second world title right there in front of you. What are your thoughts as you go to bed tonight and get ready for the big day?
I'm very happy that I don't have to play again today like yesterday. So hopefully it can continue. But tomorrow's the last day, so.
Well, we'll all be here watching one more time. Your 2022 champion on his way to the last day, Mohamed Light.
And I do not know what is scarier. The fact that Mo was able to play through that game where Lucas was absolutely phenomenal in both of his games, or is it scary that Mohamed Light is already guaranteed a day 3 showing with just 2 matches in the books? The confidence has to be through the roof.
I think anything with Mohamed Light being any position to win. I mean, we've talked about it 1,000 times.
AC, talk me through these final seconds, dude. 10 seconds and they're neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, can we go in 0.1 speed? I mean, we have the Ice Spirit on the left side. I'm thinking Lucas has probably given up too many shots. Does he want the Spear Goblins? We have the Magic Archer to try and get it, and it's just 1 inch away.
It's like 1 hit. The NATO's in. The Magic Archer across the bridge. I mean, oh, and we're going to get it again. Thank you, production. We need to see this again. We're going to slow it down so that we can really break this down, because honestly, there's no way the naked human eye could catch it other than these two. AC, I'm too old for this. What do we got?
Okay, so the lone Spear Goblin on the right gets taken out by the tower. The Miner almost gets to the tower, instead goes to the Skellies twice in a row. The NATO is just a little bit late. Maybe if he had gotten that NATO just a little second earlier, he would have gotten an extra swing. And I mean, really, I don't know how he's supposed to defend. Maybe he's supposed to Knight or Spear Goblins instead.
Yeah, Spear Goblins outside of the poison. He does go in with the Ice Spirit. Miner gets caught again. 2 Miners caught in a row. Skellies come down. Bomb tower there to clean. NATO late once again. 406, 481. And you can see on their faces, my goodness, that is what Clash Royale is all about. At the heart of the game, that is the best it gets.
I want to know the tally of how many Miners he caught with the Skellies that were cycled early. It felt like, I mean, that was great Clash Royale. That was a pleasure.
That could have been our world championship, and no one would be disappointed. Lucas now going down to the lower bracket. He is down, but he is not out. And honestly, if I'm Lucas, it is frustrating, but he has got to be so proud of his gameplay. Monk on the other side of it from Mohamed Light. Just a little bit of a different look in terms of Miner poison control, Miner control on one side of it. I love the deck picks from both of them. And I mean, what else is there to say other than this was brilliant from both of these guys?
Yeah, I gotta say, if I'm going up against Lucas in the lower bracket right now, this is one of the few times that I'm gonna look a Clash Royale player in the eye and say like, wow, you are striking fear in me.
Mohamed Light 2-1 yesterday, 2-0 now. As you can see, he's already in our upper bracket finals, awaiting the winner of our next match between Riley and Sub. Lucas and Pedro battling out against each other. The countrymen once again. Pedro cannot get away from it. And then, of course, Elsiop awaiting the loser of Riley versus Sub. He ended the day yesterday. He will end the day once again today. And, of course, we all know, as you guys saw yesterday, Elsiop, he's got ice running through his veins. It's been that way for almost a decade now. Didn't even celebrate when he won because you know he's thinking about one thing and one thing only, being our second ever world champion.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful, 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 but we're not done just yet. Rich, who do we got next?
Forget your expectations, because these two players look to move way past them. On one side, the Goblin, the other side, Sub-Zero. It's Riley versus Sub.
And so far, these two players, I really would have to say, these are the two surprises so far of this weekend. And I mean, both of them surprises in a great way. Let's get that out of the way. Riley, I mean, the 2-0, the beauty. I mean, After what we just saw, it's hard to top that. I really still think that Riley's log bait gameplay was even better than that.
Yeah, I mean, Riley had a fantastic show up yesterday. He proved all the haters wrong, and I talked to him at the hotel actually last night, and I was wondering his confidence level going into this match. And he was confident, but he was also very prepared. He talked about how you always have to prepare for the best version of your opponent. He was very impressed with Sub's composure yesterday. We talked about it a lot. He made a couple of mistakes, but then he keeps coming back stronger after that. And Riley is prepared.
Yeah, I mean, Sub, how do you recover from that? It just doesn't make any sense. Let's take a look at these community predictions. 35% to Sub, 65% to Riley. And if we take away the YouTube, that's probably 50-50. That's probably 2 games in a row that are 50-50 or something like that. Actually, game 1, set 1. Yeah, but basically, Sub 35%. Do you think that's fair, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think this is a pretty fair split. I think that Riley is definitely one of the best players to show up in the tournament here. He's been practicing with Mohamed Light. He's been playing fantastically. And like I said yesterday, it was just perfect.
The 2 Wonder Boys up right now. Let's get into game.
I got to talk to Riley, but I didn't get to talk to Sub. I wonder how he's feeling about this match. I know that he was extremely excited yesterday after beating his friend Pedro, which, you know, once again, there's got to be mixed feelings there. But as always, he looks locked in on the podium.
And for some reason, Sub kind of shaking his head after the skeletons were split in the middle by Riley. Not exactly sure why you would be all that shocked when that seems like a standard Riley play.
He might not be shocked, but maybe just after seeing that one card, he realized that Riley's using a deck that he was not expecting. He probably knew just off those skeletons that Riley was going to play this Pig's Earthquake deck, and maybe he's just not prepared for that deck in this situation.
Yeah, Riley probably going to, and that is a lot of damage. Speaking of shaking your head, Riley going to allow his tower to get all the way down to 1927. Terrible interaction for him right there. And I mean, he's going to be able to clean up the RG nicely, but that is just too much damage to give up 1 minute into this game.
Skelly? No Skelly. Skelly not going to connect. Roll delivery on the left to clean the ghost. Sub knows Riley doesn't have roll delivery in cycle and low elixir. He pops the ability early, predicting the Ice Spirit and forcing out a cannon. Sub is now up elixir with Evil Roll Giant in cycle, and Riley does not have cannon ready, and he's shaking his head.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do if you're Riley? Do you try and apply pressure with Royal Hogs at the bridge at 5? And I mean, if you're Sub, there's no cannon, there's no royal delivery, the Evo skeletons are out of cycle. I would just go RG at the bridge, and there we go. He finally goes RG at the bridge. Maybe he's trying to save up for this lightning, perhaps?
Wow, almost stopping the RG to no hits there. RG gonna make one happen. No Archer Queen ability back in cycle yet. Fisherman's gonna take care of this. Looking at this matchup overall, I mean, we saw a similar one yesterday where Mohamed Light was gonna actually win even versus the Monk version. So I would say here, there's definitely gonna be a little bit of an advantage for Riley, but looking at the tower HP in single elixir, it's gonna be tough in order for Riley to come back and really get some damage here, especially versus the Royal Ghost and the Quick Cycle. And another difference is this lightning. You know, last time there was Fireball for the Pigs, but in this situation, maybe lightning's even better to wipe those Arch Queens off the board.
Yeah, you have to think because of that massive damage advantage that the lightning is probably going to help out quite a bit. But I mean, especially with these pro players, everything I've ever been taught doesn't mean anything because of how well they play it. Getting the tower down to 1,500 is Riley on Sub, and the Archer Queen able to be taken out fully. Sub electing to kind of go split lane pressure now that he has Riley's stronger tower all the way down to 1909 as well.
Roll Giant and Pigs at the bridge on the left-hand side. Evo Skelly's gonna clean up the Queen on the right. Pigs are getting massive damage. The RG is not reciprocating much. And this tower is down to 614 in overtime. Riley is so close.
Yeah, Sub getting aggressive, going in with the bar barrel to help out the HP of the Evo RG. Riley electing to defend cheaply and go all in. If Sub can defend this, he has a chance, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Riley taking game number 1, recognizing my opponent cannot stop this. No fireball. That means I can go all in and win this game.
Yeah, huge matchup advantage there for Riley. Not only just because of the fireball spell, but also no lock. The Barbarian Barrel not able to damage the pigs enough, not able to knock them back, and it's just really hard for him to stop every single pig's push. The Ghost is simply not enough.
Yeah, let's take a look at the stats real quick. Average cost 2.88 for Riley. Exactly what we want to see. I never want to see a deck above 3 Elixir for Riley. And deck number 1 for both players, Royal Hogs. I mean, this is what Mo used in game number 1 of day number 1. Yeah. I love this pick from Riley.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the best decks in the game right now. The only thing it really struggles against is Lava. But looking at Sub's deck pool, I mean, he plays Lava a little bit, but he's more opt to the quicker cycle like the Pigs or Hog, Bait, etc. And here's the replay. And this is what we're talking about. The Pigs are at the bridge. He stops it this time, but really not at all. I mean, the Ghost, it has splash damage. The Skellies were popping off, but even then, the damage was through. And here's when it really started to hit in overtime.
Yeah, so in the second replay, we saw Sub make, another one of those kind of, I mean, just kind of a mistake. He put the bar barrel like 3 tiles too low, it felt like. It only hit 2 of the Royal Hogs. And in the first replay, I mean, it's just Sub, as gifted as he is, we're seeing slight missteps.
Yeah, and that's what we saw yesterday. We saw a couple of missteps, but we usually saw him bounce back with a really good prediction after that misstep, and that's not something we saw in this game. The big question is, can he bounce back? I mean, he reverse swept his countrymen yesterday. Will he be able to reverse sweep Riley today? And thinking back on those decks, Josh, I mean, we know that Sub has the availability to play a Pigs or a Hog Rider or a Bait. We know Riley still has Bait available, as well as maybe some Mortar or Magic Archer. What are you thinking here on these next 2 decks? I mean, it's almost impossible to decide. But.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked his P.E.K.K.A. Ram gameplay from the other day, but then a lot of the P.E.K.K.A. Rams are going to have lightning, so you are handcuffed where you can't really use your best deck at certain times. I don't know. I wouldn't mind. So we saw in game number 1 on day 1 from Sub, he was using that Night Graveyard Goblinstein. I wouldn't mind seeing something crazy like we saw earlier on.
All right, let's see if there's something crazy straight into game number 2.
Riley now 3-0 on the World Final stage. That
impressive.
Gotta say, gotta feel real good if you're Riley or one of his many, many fans.
Miner and Barry and Riley with a Fisherman and Arrows. Very interesting. I'm gonna have to wait and see a couple more cards here before I try and call out a deck, but looks like Riley might actually be playing Goblin Giant P.E.K.K.A. Very aggressive. I actually hate it when I play against this deck and they play in this way. Just so aggressive, and they have no intentions of breaking through this push, simply just to get the Evo Goblin Giant cycle.
Yeah, just getting obnoxiously aggressive. Riley choosing, I can't tell if he's going to elect to defend it. He's not. And that's going to allow Sub to get a lot of chain damage, getting the tower all the way down to 25-14. But I mean, really, you talked about it. It doesn't matter that you're giving up 500 HP or 600 HP, whatever it is. You're just trying to set yourself up for that very next push.
Arrows drop it down on the Goblin instead of popping the ability right away because he wants to use the ability on tower. Really nice log from Sub, though, knocking back the monster at the very last second. Now the ability has no way to get damage on tower.
Bomber matching up nicely, going to be able to take out the Doctor. Ooh. Riley going to be running, there we go, another one of those 6/5/7s. Goblin Giant, Goblin Stein, plus the Mega Knight. A very, very heavy deck. Sub has a lot of cheap answers to this. We're going to see how Riley is going to really break through all of this.
Mega Knight on one side, Evo Goblin Giant on the right. Fisherman does pull the Miner. He does not have enough elixir to go arrows on the Goblins, though. A little bit aggressive. You can see Riley's not super happy with how that went. Now Sub's going to be up a lot of damage, and now Riley does not have Evo Gob Giant in cycle either. In order for Riley to win this, he really needs to get that Evo Mega Knight plus Evo Goblin Giant combo.
Yeah, and I really like how he's splitting this. The Goblinstein going to the unhealthy lane of Riley, and the Doctor going to the left. And right there, Evo Bomber not trying to get chip damage on the tower, instead trying to get chip damage on the Doctor. Really smart, a lot of awareness shown from Sub.
Once again, another split lane push. The Rage just drop on the Mega Knight. The Gobstein ability is not popped yet. Maybe he's deciding it's better not to. The defense on the left-hand side is solid, though. And once again, Sub is just controlling. But we saw this yesterday. We saw, control decks doing really well in the single, maybe even in double. But once it gets to overtime, once Riley can get that Evo Gob Giant plus Evo Mega Knight together on the same push like this, it's going to be a different story.
Yeah, sometimes it really is just as simple as, okay, I have all these heavy troops. Let's play as many troops on the board as possible and make it difficult for my opponent to keep up. So far, he's keeping up, but we know how difficult it is. And right there, Rage plus the Goblin Curse going to take everything out nicely, but the Bomber going to help out quite a bit. But this is still going to get to the tower even with the log. And there we go, getting the tower all the way down to 2,000. Riley screaming back into the match, only down 380 HP at this point.
The Goblin Curse really changes everything. This triple spell combo, if he can break through by playing Rage plus Curse on perhaps like Goblins to spawn even more Goblins with the Evo Gob Giant offense, it could be a game changer. But once again, Riley is not able to get this Mega Knight Evo and Goblin Giant together. He keeps having each of the Evo be separate. If you get them both, it makes it just so much more difficult to defend.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is as simple as Sub is just putting these baby pushes. He's not trying to get like these crazy pushes, not trying to overwhelm completely. Instead, he's just trying to get, the Miner on top of the Crown Tower or the Goblins to apply pressure, force out these weird offensive pushes from Riley. Doing a great job so far. And again, picture perfect defense from Sub.
And it's all about the Evo Ice Spirit. That one Elixir card really just stalls the push completely. And now Sub finally finds a moment to attack. He goes for the Miner, pre-log, pre-poison with the Evo Bomber locking on tower. This is massive damage. But because of how crazy this deck is, this game is not over. Here's the push. Double Mega Knights plus a Gob Giant on the board. But look at this poison value.
Yeah, poison coming down on defense. Even with the arrows on offense, it's not really going to be enough. I need to see more. I don't think he's going to be able to do so. I really think Sub has this locked up.
Last-ditch effort from Riley. Evo Goblin Giant at the bridge. Curse and arrows on the Goblinstein with the Rage, but it is simply not enough. Riley knows it's over. He calls the good game. Sub taking game number 2.
Sub. As soon as Sub hits an 0-1, he's like, I'm actually Sub-Zero. Stop calling me Sub. I'm Sub-Zero. All right?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we saw yesterday. We saw him go down in game 1 versus Pedro. We saw him lock in and strike back immediately, playing the game that he knows best. A cycle deck, just controlling the match completely against those huge, heavy cards.
Yeah, and I was not like actively looking for mistakes, but just kind of looking at the board with a bird's eye view, there were very few mistakes from him in those final couple minutes. It was just picture perfect defense. Let's take a look at game number 2, deck number 2. And I mean, Sub, he only has the Goblinstein and the Miner as those kind of big, heavy troops. Really, you would think that the Evo Mega Knight would be able to just run away with that kind of match.
Yeah, I agree. Evo Mega Knight does great versus a deck like Sub's. Once again, I called out many times, Riley never got Evo Mega Knight plus Evo Gob Giant together until the very end, where a lot of those cards I had already taken a lot of damage. If he could really piece them together, it's possible to win this, especially with the triple spell.
Yeah, so what you are telling us is that you have to be less aggressive, and that's kind of how you want to win it. You would think that with all these troops, you're just kind of blindly putting them on the board, but you think that being less aggressive and just trying to set up those real pushes is the way to go.
Yeah, we didn't get to see in the replay, probably because I should have called it out, but the very beginning, at the very beginning, Sub had a Goblinstein pushing forward, and Riley decided to defend it with the Goblinstein after he went for that initial Gob Giant bridge. If he had Mega Knight Cycle, I would have just played the Mega Knight right then and there, have the Mega Knight counter push, and maybe be down a little bit Elixir, but next push, you have an Evo Mega Knight and Evo Gob Giant together rather than constantly being separate the entire game. It's just really hard to fix a cycle when your deck is so heavy like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Riley taking his first L, and you have to wonder, I mean, when you have those picture-perfect runs and you go 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 1-1, all right, I can go 2-0, but it's a lot different when it's 2-0, 1-0, then 1-1. How do you bounce back if you're Riley?
It's a good question. I think that you maybe have to go to what your comfort tells you to. The other thing, though, is Riley really going to play bait when his opponent is prepared for it? If he's going to play bait, it has to be now. But Sub is ready to rumble. He has the Pigs EQ. He has not played it yet. Is that a lie? I'm pretty sure Riley played Pigs first game. Yes, that is true. So a Pigs EQ deck is really going to counter that log bait a lot. So I don't think Riley's in a situation where he can do that.
All right, let's see what these players are thinking. Game 3 on its way. Another potential reverse sweep on its way for Sub. Riley trying to hang on. First 3 matches of the World Finals for him. Picture-perfect defense, picture-perfect offense. Struggled a little bit in that game number 2.
Sub has now used Poison, Log, Lightning, and Barb Barrel for his spells. He might be in a little bit of a more awkward spell situation. We see the Rage come out. Maybe Sub with some sort of interesting Lava Rage deck, or maybe even a P.E.K.K.A deck with a Flying Machine in it. But whenever I see Flying Machine, I think Lava 100 times out of 100.
No Royal Recruits for you?
I mean, wait, you might be onto something. This Flying Machine plus Cage, I mean, that does think Royal Recruits. I think you might call my bluff here, perhaps.
I don't know. Still could go either way. There we go. We're both wrong. Look at that. Although it
no,
could
I
be
think you're still right.
Recruits. Okay. All right. I was trying to make us a team. All that.
Yeah. No. You can call me out.
Together we die. All right. Yeah. So not going to be the case. I am correct. And Riley on the opposite end going to be running P.E.K.K.A, Bomber, Baby Dragon.
Wow.
Is this the first time we've seen Baby Dragon all World Finals?
I think it might be, and I'm glad to see it here. I was about to call out how difficult a matchup can be when you don't have, you have P.E.K.K.A. You have P.E.K.K.A, you're going against recruits. It's tough sometimes, but he's got Baby Dragon and Bomber for splash damage to deal with these recruits, as well as Evo P.E.K.K.A is pretty solid as well. I think Riley would be fairly happy with this matchup.
Yeah, and phenomenal timing. As simple, as easy as it looked from Sub to wait for the Bandit to dash on top of the tower, but still not allow the Bomber from Riley to get any shots on the Crown Tower on the left side. It's super simple, but you need to do it. You're always saving yourself damage. If you put the arrows just a tad bit too early, you're going to place it when the Bandit is dashing. It's still going to be alive. It would still be chipping away at the tower right now. Instead, pretty easy defense for him.
So fascinating here. In the middle of the game, both players decide to leak Elixir and wait to double. And now we see both of the big Evos in the back. Recruits for Sub, P.E.K.K.A for Riley. Who is going to win this bridge battle?
Flying Machine over the middle. Baby Dragon in defense. Placed down in the middle and going to be able to take it out. That is pretty solid defense from Riley so far. You just have to see what this counterattack is all about for him.
Ram Rider, Bandit, and Baby Dragon on the right side. He cycled back to another round of recruits, though, really stalling everything out on both sides. Riley can't be happy with how this shaped out. The P.E.K.K.A is healing itself a little bit, but it's not enough to break through. Maybe a second P.E.K.K.A can do it.
I mean, at this point, it feels like we're going to see a second set of recruits. Not going to be the case, though. It's going to be the Evo God Gauge, and that's going to be able to fully take it out. Not fully because of the help of the Lightning, but, I mean, that feels like an overextension. I don't think you can play the Lightning in that moment.
Sub with the Ice Wizard in the back. Instead of trying to counterattack immediately, he wants to cycle back to recruits by playing the Ice Wizard, and now he can get the Evo recruits plus Ram Rider plus Rage yet again. And we know from experience now that Riley has a very hard time of stopping it. Here it goes.
Yeah, I mean, Sub just in full control. Riley going to place down the P.E.K.K.A, but that's going to be a dash plus just a regular hit, getting the tower down to 10-19. A massive advantage on both lanes for Sub. It's just whether or not he can defend this big push incoming from Riley.
Evil Bomber is locked on tower right-hand side. The P.E.K.K.A is getting taken out, but he's protecting the Bomber. It is off-center, though. It is not connecting, but the Bandit does. This game is all of a sudden very close, but Sub with the counterattack left side yet again.
This offensive Ice Wizard going to apply a little bit of pressure, forcing out the Baby Dragon on defense, as well as the Bar Barrel. Sub just getting ready. Both players, triple elixir underway. This is make it or break it time.
Raymar to the right side wants to go ops lane of P.E.K.K.A, spamming a lot on the left to try and take the P.E.K.K.A out. Rainrider on defense to try and slow the opposing Rainrider, but it connects no matter what.
Right here, Evo Gobcage going to be able to put in a little bit of work, but he does get the lightning out in time. Can he get the recruits down? No, the Ram Rider is going to get the dash, getting the tower down to 619.
And Riley knows that he cannot take turns and let his opponent attack yet again. He needs to go straight for it. Here's the Ram Rider. Will it get there? No, the cage does block, and Sub should have an opportunity to attack. Here it goes left side again.
Ram Rider not going to be able to get it. Will hit, give it, it does get to the tower. P.E.K.K.A not placed perfectly. Right there, Bridge, Bandit, that P.E.K.K.A means nothing on the left side.
But Riley has the lightning, and Sub does not have a big spell. P.E.K.K.A's walking towards tower as well. Lightning does drop, the cage gets taken out, the rage drops, and Riley wins it! Riley takes the best of 3!
34 HP left on the tower, stays alive, gets the damage in. P.E.K.K.A, blocking away. It's not gonna make the offensive push, but it blocks everything. Hey, you're not getting through this.
Oh my god, that game was so intense. I'm like shaking, and I'm not even playing. How is Riley down there so composed? He's like, I'm gonna get my papers, and I'm gonna walk towards my interview. Let's hear the interview right now. Andrew, take it away.
All right, Riley, myself, everyone in this room is pretty speechless right now, so I'm gonna ask you the most basic question. What on earth is going through your mind from that last 30 seconds to right now?
I just can't believe that I won. I'm in disbelief that I just won that.
You brought out Curse in game number 2. We haven't been seeing it be very successful here at World Finals. What was your mindset there?
Well, I wanted Curse because I thought he would go with Goblins, and Rage plus Curse is really good against Goblins, but I just messed up in single elixir and I lost quite an easy matchup.
Riley, first World Finals. You're going through to day 3. How does it feel? You're this close to being a world champion.
Well, I promised Mo that I'd face him on the 3rd day in the winter finals, so I guess I did it.
A man of his word, one more time for Riley.
What's with all these players being honorable and having ownership? I didn't know that was a thing whatsoever as a pro player. It was always, that was a bad matchup. How could you expect me to win?
I think it is another case of the Muhammad Light effect. Muhammad Light is the first person in Clash Royale history to really be the best and not be very arrogant at all. Instead, Muhammad Light just continues to grind and practice no matter what. And I think it really has an effect on other players, especially Riley, who I know is good friends with Mo.
And that makes sense. Let's take a look at this replay.
And look at that P.E.K.K.A. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I really thought that P.E.K.K.A was going to stop that Ram Rider. I thought he had it played it down in time, and it was just so close.
Yeah, I think it's misplayed by a tile or something, you would assume, because usually it's getting the body block or something. We see the exclamation of joy coming out from Riley. Oh yeah, getting chills. I just love seeing these players celebrate when they get these big wins. There's a lot of money on the line. I would be doing the same thing they are.
And I just have to wonder, I know these are pros, and I know they know their spell damages, but do you think Riley, after the Ram Rider hit, just oh, I got this, we're good? Or do you think he was oh, does Arrow's Rage do enough? Is this gonna happen right now? Either way, well played from both players. It could not have been closer.
Yeah, they're supposed to know what it is, but at the same time, it's well, it doesn't really matter. Either he got it or he don't. And right there, he didn't. Riley was able to walk away with game number 3. And these are some great games for day number 2. How do we improve from day number 1?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's just hop straight into the predictions here. I'm still speechless after that match. I'm sweating. But looks like I'm the only one making it 3 for 3 so far it's not over yet. We all picked Lucas for this next upcoming match. Tell me why you are confident in Lucas to win this one.
I mean, I just think Lucas, I feel good about Lucas. I can't remember what it was, if it was an interview or if it was just kind of randomly talking to him, but Lucas felt good about the meta. And I think it was at the end of the last monthly finals where he was like, oh, this is, whatever it was, you never see Lucas feel good about the meta. So now that he is, I'm feeling real good about his chances.
Now let's take a look at the bracket and really just see how all the players have made it so far. Muhammad Light and Riley, the two best buds, are in the upper finals. Next upcoming match, we do have Lucas versus Pedro, another Battle of Brazil. We all picked Lucas yet again. Pedro, I don't know if he's been grinding as much as Lucas recently, but he did seem very confident versus Ta in his last lower bracket match.
Yeah, I was super impressed. And the one name that I really want to kind of like circle right now is Elsiop. He ended the game, or he ended the day for day number 1, and then he's having to end the day for day number 2. Imagine having to like sit through all of that action and then just be ready. How do you be ready at that point?
Andrew, let's hear this intro for this Battle of Brazil.
A true heartbreaker from our friends in the other language cast, Deco and Alan. Our encore Battle of Brazil. Who will send their countrymen home? It's Lucas versus Pedro.
And this is a fascinating matchup as we get Pedro and Lucas together, both maybe not expecting to be in this position this early, but they have both, of course, run into some challenges so far here at World Finals.
Yeah, I mean, like Riley said when I talked to him, everyone who made it to World Finals this year is meant to be here. There's only 8 players. There's no one who just snuck in there, or there's no one that didn't deserve. There's no one that isn't at the highest level of Clash Royale.
Well, you talk about the highest level, of course, Pedro coming off of that number 2 last year. We didn't see his best level yesterday. Today, we saw a very different story out of him. Lucas, on the other hand, has been kind of a number 2 for a long time, chasing Muhammad Light. We just saw that last matchup come very, very close. And I got a chance to talk with his coach. That minor mirror matchup, that's the matchup they wanted for that game. Yep. But Lucas swapped out what was supposed to be Evo Tesla for the bomb tower instead, and that Evo Tesla would have covered the bird.
Yeah, not only the bird, but it doesn't get deflected by Monk either. There's so much there. Yep. Wow, that is a fascinating just set of like cards. I mean, I just think it's so crazy how many little things go into each little, sorry, I got distracted by this prediction. We're at 50-50 here.
50-50.
I mean, talk to me about that.
It's hard not to call this a 50-50, right? Pedro, when he's at his best, is one of the best. Just the question coming into this weekend was, is he really at that level with all the talk of him kind of taking some time away from the game after getting his golden ticket and trying to cram for this weekend? And I've said this to you off air, I'm going to say it here on air. You can cram for a test, you can't cram a skill. So that's the big question here is, did he do enough to get ready for this? Well, we're going to find out as he jumps in against Lucas, his countryman, for game number 1. And this room just got dead silent knowing how much is on the line. This is an elimination matchup, folks. One of these two will be done in the top 6 in just 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay.
Interesting, Pedro using the Cannoneer here. Cannoneer and Gobgang immediately makes me think he's using Mortar, and Lucas with Skellies and Gobgang makes me think he's using Bait. I don't know exactly about this matchup, but I want to say Lucas has a slight advantage because of the Cannoneer. It's very difficult to defend all these spade cards with the Cannoneer, but also you only have one spell. You only have arrows.
And Cannon Cart doesn't get that last shot on its side. Lucas has to be a little careful, as we saw some funkiness yesterday. Does break down out of range, and a Princess connects on the right-hand side for 2.
So we have the Evo Bats, Evo Mortar version of the deck. Goblin Barrel coming in yet again. No arrows in cycle. Gang does clean up very well, though. And Lucas has a bit of a minuscule counter push to deal with. A Gang to support yet again.
Despite being known as a fairly good mortar player, we didn't see any mortar out of Pedro during his CRL monthly finals runs this year. Curious to see what he does in this spot.
Yeah, it's a good point. It might be a semi-difficult matchup for Pedro, but he is one of the best to ever do it with mortar. So if there's anyone that can win it, it's definitely him. Evo Skellies plus Evo Goblin Barrel at the bridge, though. This is a force to be reckoned with. He defends really well left side, but Evo Goblin Barrel on the right connects yet again.
Almost past the first 2 minutes of gameplay. Double elixir flowing in 15 seconds. And Princess aggressive at the bridge on the left-hand lane.
Interesting decision by Pedro. He doesn't want to spend elixir defending this, so instead he goes mortar so that whenever he does defend the Princess, he's also able to protect his mortar at the same time.
And mortar targets the Doctor. Arrows behind to clear. Doctor will get taken off the board as the cannon goes to support.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what Pedro wanted to happen. I think he wanted a little bit more damage. He's just down so much. Both of his towers under 1800 HP, and he's barely scratched at the surface of Lucas.
Princess right-hand side for Lucas. 30 seconds left in regulation time. And the Evo Bats push on the right-hand side.
Ooh, the mortar snipes the Princess. One bag gets a little bit of damage, but it's really just not enough. These mortars really are having a difficult time of connecting.
Cannon Cart working its way up the left-hand lane. And we see Arrows looking to clear one more time. Barrel goes to the right. Arrows do clear. Ice Spirit plus Evo Skelly's left-hand lane. Bomber trying to stop it, but not enough to break through here.
Yeah, those Evo Skellies are so important to take note of. If your arrows is not in cycle and those Skellies start making their way towards your tower, it can get very dicey very quick when you're using Cannoneer.
Keep in mind, folks, it's one spell versus no spell. Yes, they both can get on tower, and yes, Goblin Barrel's a spell. Stop telling me that. But it's not. You know it's not.
Yeah, I agree. That's got to be one of my biggest pet peeves. We're talking no direct damage spells here, but because of that, Lucas actually has even more spam, which is a huge advantage versus the Cannoneer yet again.
Should see an ability. Yep, there it goes. Miner goes to the back of the tower. Pedro has a lot of ground to make up. He really needs to hope for either a Cannon Cart breakthrough or a mortar connection, because at the moment, Miner chip plus arrows is not going to get it done.
Bats dropping down on defense. Here's the Evo Skelly split push to try to apply pressure. Goblin Barrel yet again as well. Arrows left-hand side.
Boy.
That's not the right decision.
Boy.
Goblin Barrel connects.
Oh my.
Evo Skellies are swarming. Lucas taking game number 1.
And Lucas pumped up there after taking a key game number 1. And kind of fresh looks from both of these players. Haven't seen a lot of bait out of Lucas throughout the year. Haven't seen any mortar from Pedro throughout the year. But this is World Finals. This is where you go to the big stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, what it really comes down to there was really good deck decision making. I think that Lucas coach Allen really put together a great deck. And I don't know if there really is a way for Pedro to win this. He tried everything. He dropped down to defensive mortars, taking advantage of the lack of Lucas' spell. He tried double defensive plus offensive mortar. Maybe there's a way an Evo Mortar on offense can get value, but it just didn't seem like he had a way to break through.
And now this is the moment where that coaching comes into play. These guys have progressions all planned out for these moments, and this is a big matchup here, not just between Lucas and Pedro, but also their coaches. Allen and Jebas, who have a long-standing rivalry that can get heated every once in a while, and you know they're both back there hoping they've prepared their players to go get the win, the money, and the bragging rights.
Looking at deck number 1 yet again, I said it before, I'll say it again, no spells in Luca's deck. Yes, that might seem like a disadvantage when you see all of this kind of bait element in Pedro's deck as well, but it allows you to just cram in even more offensive potential with the Dark Goblin, with the Gang, with the Skellies, the Ice Spear for quick cycle, plus the Princess. How do you deal with everything with just arrows?
Well, what this really does as well is make the decision-making process for Pedro very difficult. If you look at these deck progressions that they plan out, a lot of the times it's, if arrows played in game 1, we do this in game 2. If log in game 1, here's what we do in game 2. You play no spells, your deck progression situation is based off of what? You had the Goblinstein out there? What are you making that plan based on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Now Pedro's even in a worse situation where he has no idea what kind of deck that Lucas could play next because he has so many different spells available to him. I mean, the only thing to really note is you can't really play a Hog Rider or Pig's quick cycle because of the Skellies and Ice Spear being gone.
Well, these guys are certainly taking every second available to them for this big moment. Lucas has been in these moments against Brazilians before. Rewind back to 2022 when he faced Samuel on this very stage. Looked a little different, a little more green that time around than the beautiful blue with red and black we have this time. But he has been in day 2 against someone he knows very well. This is a tight one.
Let's hop straight into game number 2 for this elimination match.
A big guessing game here for Pedro. Keep in mind, only the one spell, the arrows, played on Pedro's side, so Lucas doesn't have a ton of information. But, of course, we have now seen how deep you can go into this deck pool and still have difficulty trying to pick it. Pedro goes Ice Spirit to open into the Electro.
And here's the Raymart as well. Lucas with some sort of Raymart deck. It could be Mega Knight, it could be P.E.K.K.A, or even Recruits as we've seen today.
We've seen a lot of Ice Wiz this weekend so far. I think far more than many would anticipate. What do you attribute that to, Juicy?
Yeah, it really comes down to that small splash radius buff it got just a month or 2 ago. You know, I really didn't think it would be that big of a difference maker, but that splash radius makes its splash radius actually larger than even the Baby Dragon. So that solid splash plus how cheap it is makes it a very solid card.
And seeing the work on the left-hand side, Lucas puts some pressure on the right. Firecracker will get some crosswise chip damage to open up that lead a bit more. 24-56 on the right-hand lane with the first minute of play having passed.
Yeah, and you can see Lucas shake his head just a little bit there. He's really not happy about this King Tower activation. Usually you use Firecracker in decks where a King Tower activation might not matter too much, but when you're playing with a Mega Knight in a Ram Rider beatdown-esque push, you need to break through, and that King Tower makes it just a little bit more difficult.
Inferno Dragon coming up against the Monk, and the Monk can get Reflection here, but it's not worth much as that Inferno Dragon will not be affected, so he opts to hold. That's twice now. 2 Monks played, no ability used yet.
Yeah, that's a nice call out. I saw the Monk, I was like, wow, this is gonna be solid for the Firecracker deflection for dealing with the Mega Knight. But then of course, Lucas always prepared in these matchups with an Inferno Dragon, and it just seems a little bit difficult for Lucas to break through. He is up in the damage for now though.
And this time he will activate the ability to take that Evo Firecracker off the board and get the sizzle going the opposite direction. Inferno plus Lightning. And you see Pedro just getting ready with those guards for the push.
Fisherman's down. It will not get distracted by the Electro Spirit. I like what you're saying here. I thought it was going to connect too, but the Ice Wizard, once again, showing its prowess, slowing it down, making it work.
And for a moment, you really thought that was Lucas trying to get against the Fisherman high. Of course, quite famously back in the CRL teams days, it was Lucas caught trying to use a Fisherman to pull a Hog Rider against the God RF. Goblins at the bridge made the connection happen. He was trying to repeat that in his favor. Ram Rider will connect. Evo Mega Knight's going to work. Firecracker coming in, trying to get the connection, does not quite touch either way. dual lane damage for Lucas as we go into sudden death.
And Pedro is finally trying to make an offensive attack work. Evo, Royal Giant at the bridge with the Monk tanking. That's one shot. Do we see two? Yes, we see two. Wait, the Fisherman's pulling as well.
Oh, boy.
Oh my gosh, so much damage.
That is insane. It gets one more. 469. Ram Rider does connect. And oh my word, we have a fight on our hands, Juice.
Ice Wizard is counter pushing. I mean, Lucas, if he's gonna win this, he needs to get one good push going, but he reveals the fireball. One more fireball log and this game's over.
And now can this Ram Rider get through in time? The fireball's there. GG, well played. Game number 3 on its way.
Oh my gosh, Rich. Every single game today is going down to the wire, it feels like. I love these 1-in-1 best of 3s. There's so much happening. And once again, it is duels formatting. No cards can be repeated. When you get to this last game, you have to be extremely creative with which cards you bring to the arena.
Pedro now 3-0 on the season with this exact deck, playing it once during the monthly finals back in June or July, back in June, to go past against Sub. And then the same thing again, did that on day number 1, his only win coming into day number 1 against Sub. So far so good with RG Monk Icewiz.
Yeah, I might dare say that Ice Wizard might be the MVP of this last match. Not only did it help versus the Ram Riders slow the Inferno Drags, but it was slowing the Mega Knight at the very end there to allow the Royal Giant to do more damage than ever imaginable.
It was quite a lot of damage. As you look at this matchup, what are the keys to how these two decks came together, Juice?
I mean, honestly, I thought that Lucas was going to get it because of the Inferno Drag. Inferno Drag is the best counter to Monk. It's also very solid versus Royal Giant, and that's why Royal Giant normally uses Electro Spirit. But with the Ice Spirit, it's not able to chain to get the Inferno Drag every time. I think Lucas has the matchup advantage here, but Pedro somehow, someway making it work with that Monk to tank everything.
Inferno Dragon and Goblinstein both out for Lucas. Does that open up the possibility of Lava Hound for Pedro in this moment?
Yeah, I think it could be possible, but you just always have to be aware that there's also, other buildings and stuff that can really affect a Lava Hound matchup. I mean, Lava Hound is just so matchup dependent, in my opinion, that I'd be really nervous for either of these players to play it, because if you're ready for the Lava Hound, it won't work.
Delivery, arrows, log, fireball, poison, all that still open for Lucas. Pedro has played the arrows, fireball, and log so far as his spells. Monk and Goblinstein both gone for Pedro. And on the side of Lucas, we did not see a champion in that matchup, and only the Goblinstein gone so far.
Yes, we've seen a lot of champions today, or just also in the tournament in general. We've seen Arch Queen, we've seen Monk, we've even seen some Little Prince. I mean, there's a lot of options for 3-card cycle with any of these champions that are actually very viable. I love this meta for this World Finals.
With Firecracker gone, with Skeletons gone, it's unlikely for a Hog, but we'll see what these players and their coaches cooked up. The swing game coming up right now. This is the kind of place where you think of Lucas going cycle, given the spells he has available. But a lot of the support cards, the cycle cards, not there for him. Of course, we went through an era where Goblins was the major cycle card, but that was before Evo Skelly and a Heal Spirit?
Heal Spirit, I mean, maybe, with E Spirit and Ice Spirit out, he's trying to give his deck a little bit of an extra amount or less elixir added to it. Flying Machine Heal Spirit, it makes me think of some sort of fireball bait deck.
Log was open, and there it is. Tesla being played by Pedro. Not the Evo version, which is interesting.
Fisherman as well. I mean, this could be Recruits Pigs. It could be something else. After seeing the Zappies, though, this looks like a pretty old school Recruits Piggies deck.
With Fireball out, that Flying Machine's going to be annoying for Pedro to deal with. Obviously, the poison does help to a certain degree, but we'll see how much Lucas can abuse that Flying Machine today.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot of potential too. With the poison kind of bait going on here, the Flying Machine is going to be that X factor to break through. On the other hand, we have Pedro just running with one of his most solid decks, one of the best decks, the deck that really pushed him forward towards the runner-up last year. Good old Miner Poison.
And the Tesla will be key in some of these defenses.
Yeah, and I look at the decks, we actually saw Pedro use Miner in game 1, so maybe a Drill Poison. I mean, I don't see another option for win condition that could work here.
Goes to cover on the right, 6-man splits, 3-3.
And here's the Mega Knight. Mega Knight gonna be super useful versus the recruits as well. I mean, looking at this matchup, I feel like Pedro's got a very nice advantage. It's all just going to depend if he can really put it together. We saw him play Miner Poison yesterday and struggle to break through.
So far, the Poison Chip on the right-hand side doing a good job. 25-76, the mark for Lucas's tower on your top right. Now here come Evo Recruits way out in front. What does Lucas have in store behind this? Royal Giant to the right-hand lane.
Wow, now Recruits Bigs, Recruits Royal Giant. Tesla dropping down yet again with the Barbarian. Gonna deal quite nicely. I mean, that Mega Knight, though, I feel like that Mega Knight, especially the Evo, will be really good at knocking that Evo Royal Giant backwards.
And the Heal Spirit, such an interesting choice. We've seen people really try to go outside of expectations. How do you feel about that Heal Spirit call, though?
I actually love the Heal Spirit call. It synergizes really well with Royal Giant specifically because you can almost always guarantee the Heal Spirit to jump because of how close the Evo Royal Giant is to the bridge.
And the Poison working more. Flying Machine to get the, and there's just what you talked about, the Mega Knight knocking that Evo RG all the way back across the bridge.
And this Tesla's getting, sorry, not the Tesla, but the Flying Machine, once again getting so much value. Even if you have Poison for it, it's not instantaneous, and he misses the pull on the Ghost, though. The Ghost getting even more damage, and I just don't know how Lucas breaks through right now.
Royal Giant with the Evo Recruits. Does fireball the Tesla here, snowball to hold. RG should get a couple of shots here, and these are critical shots at this stage.
Yeah, as soon as I say I don't know how it's possible, he makes it happen right away. Fireball on the Tesla, the Heal Spirit we've been talking about. Heal Spirit might end up winning him this match.
Well, the way he can completely flood the board, on the one hand, lots of poison value available for Pedro, lots of Mega Knight drop value available for Pedro, but that also means there's a lot to cover, and this has been, so far, the story.
Yeah, the other thing that means is he can't use poison on offense, and especially with the Goblin Drill, that is going to make things difficult, whereas on offense for Lucas, he can use that Fireball on tower in a variety of situations.
And you see how much cover was given to that Flying Machine. Now there's the poison value. Evo Mega Knight nowhere near that Royal Giant, so Drill has to come out on defense. Log to clear, Tesla to hold, and this will be a defense that holds on, but with 30 seconds left, you cannot just hold on, you have to do damage, and there comes the poison on the recruits.
He does get a poison on offense. Can he defend? He sends the Evo Drill on offense too. He doesn't have that much elixir for the Royal Giant. Ghost dropping, Tesla dropping. Drill is defended. Will the RG get a hit?
Snowball in, RG gets nothing. Fireball down, poison ticking. Lucas needs a log. 2, 1, and Lucas takes it! 11:07 to 10:10, and his World Championship hopes continue.
I cannot believe what I just watched. I thought there was no way for Lucas to get damage through the Mega Knight, through the poison, through the Tesla. But as soon as I said it, the fire overdrops, the Heal Spirit heals, and the Royal Giant connects for massive damage.
That was a tremendous moment, and you saw, of course, down on the field below, Lucas celebrating. We got a shot of his coach, Alan, celebrating in the stands. This duo so pumped right now, and I just want to know what Lucas has to say about this great win.
Okay, so a lot of emotions are going on right now. How do you think you did today?
I'm happy against Mel. The first game, I think I did well. The second game, I did 1 or 2 mistakes, so I'm not really happy about it. Versus Pedro, I feel like I should have won 2-0. Not saying that like because of Pedro's level, just because of the matchup. When I lose a good matchup, I just feel bad. And in the last game, I think I did very well, but I misclicked recruits like the last 20 seconds. People must have think like, what is this guy doing going recruits in the back? 20 seconds left, I just misclicked it. So I'm not really, I'm happy that I won, but I know I need to do best if I really want to win.
So then let's go on with this. What are you going to do tonight to make sure that you reset properly and are ready for day number 3?
I'm gonna eat some sushi and relax, I guess.
Never a bad idea. I love me some sushi. I had it yesterday, and that's why I feel like day 2 went so well for both of us. Let's send it right back up to the casters and see what we have left in store.
Well, I don't know what Lucas has left at this point. You saw the dump of emotions there. He's been quite outspoken, outgoing today as we hear one more cheer from the crowd for him as he leaves the stage. And we've seen him now go from one gut-wrenching moment that literally had Mo holding his gut in pain of how tight it was to another one, and on both sides of things. Either way, Lucas now moves on to our Final Four.
Yeah, and I love how he's got that competitive mentality to point out his own mistakes right after they just happened. But also, I'm really happy that he's able to celebrate his win. He's able to celebrate how he was able to win a tough matchup as well. You need to give yourself a pat on the back when you're due for it.
And he certainly is, and now it's just about what you can do to go to bed tonight, get ready, and also kind of be preparing a whole lot of matches. The road for these guys in the lower bracket now is really long. We're going to see the bracket here in just a minute, but Lucas is going to have to go through, well, 2 lower bracket matches, and then, of course, a world championship, and if he wins, a bracket reset. So let's take a look at what this looks like, right? So we're going to find out whether Lucas is playing sub or LCOP, and then if he wins that, he has to go play the loser of Mohamed and Riley, and then if he wins that, he has to go double win. So wow. Mohamed might either Mo or Riley might only have 2 matches for tomorrow, and Lucas and whoever else is left might have to do 4 on the same time.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot to prepare for. The other thing we don't really talk about is if you have that many more matches, your opponents get to look at a little bit more of your deck preparation and have a little bit of advantage there as well.
Well, let's go ahead and see who his opponent will be as Josh sets us up for our final match of the day.
Emotions will not be shown on the stage from these 2 players. We have LCOP and we have Sub.
The final moment coming for one of these 2 players as we face our next elimination matchup, Sub-Zero and the Last Emperor going head-to-head for our final of our 4 spots.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this Mortal Kombat tournament. Wait, what? Sub-Zero and the Last Emperor? Okay, we're Clash Royale here. This is going to be a crazy one. You got to think about the adrenaline of the match that Sub is just coming off of. I mean, we were trying to figure out who we were going to interview. I had no idea as I was running to the stage. Was it going to be Riley? Was it going to be Sub? Ends up being Sub in the last moment. So you wonder, is he in the zone? Is he warmed up? Or is he shook? And then on the other side of it, same thing, LCOP. He's been sitting back all day just watching, thinking, ruminating. Is he ready to go? I mean, he always has been.
He has been, but of course, we've seen kind of some strange ups and downs from LCOP, right?
Definitely.
Some good stuff against Mo, but some interesting deck choices. Then, of course, maybe not his top-tier lava play. And then the match against Greco, where in game number 2, Greco just made a mistake and didn't put a win condition, maybe some nerves on the stage. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered about LCOP today.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that kind of went and fell in LCOP's favor, as we were talking about. It's better to be lucky than good. Sometimes it's better to just be both. And LCOP, that very first matchup was kind of a 50-50 against Mo. Second game, he was really in his element. Game 3, when he was playing Lava, he was not coordinating and putting together pushes the way that you are supposed to. Part of that is, of course, Mohamed Light making that hard, but also you got to be able to play your own game. And then honestly with Grieco, just like you're talking about, Grieco misreads the cannon cart. Juicy Josh and I sat there, watched it frame by frame. That was just a misstep because the cannon didn't go off. It wasn't the cannon cart, glitch that people have been talking about. And then the other thing, like you said, a win condition helps in Clash Royale, Rich.
Yeah, I've heard that's usually a good idea. You thinking here at home, 56% for LCOP, 44 for Sub. And this is certainly a hard one to predict. I did not go head on this one. I went with my heart on this one.
Yeah.
And I like both these players quite a lot, but LCOP was our first champion. I picked him in this one.
Well, let's see if that champion can keep things strong or if Sub might pull off the upset. Game 1, final match of day 2. Let's go.
Time to dig deep.
If I could just see inside the minds of these players, I'm telling you, we need the heart rate wristbands. We've talked about it for years. I want to know what the heart rate is.
What if we find out it's just 45 BPM?
Meanwhile, you and me are jacked at like 140, 180.
So Mega Knight picks up the barrel easily.
And seeing LCOP already go Mega Knight Ram Rider lets me know he is ready to play in his element. That's how he wants to start this set off.
Yeah, Birch Spam game number 1. Interesting choice for LCOP.
And an interesting bait deck here. Curious how much that Dark Goblin's going to be a problem as this game unfolds.
So far, both guys with a clean sheet, nobody touched in our first near minute of gameplay.
Curious if this is going to be like a Princess Log situation or Princess Goblin Gang or what these last couple cards may be for Sub. And you see they're already kind of showing his hand a bit there, Rich, picking up those goblins with just the guards.
That's interesting. I wonder how much of that, and here we see the zap.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. And there it is. No small spell, nothing but spam. And it's going to be really hard for LCOP to get on top of these units like the Princess and the Dark Goblin if Sub plays this correctly. And then once you are on top of those units, the overwhelm from the Goblin Gang can be absolutely brutal.
I'm curious to see what he does with the Goblinstein in this one, as you can definitely set it up in the back with impunity, not really worried about spells at all.
Nice timing there for Sub, getting a Princess shot in as LCOP sets up a Ram Rider in the back.
And you have the feeling that Cannon's going to be there every single time in this matchup.
100%, Rich. I mean, that's the only reason it wouldn't be is if LCOP does a good job with his Goblinstein, and that is a lot of damage on the left-hand side. True Goblins to the left, plus the Ice Spirit, 1622, 1712, to basically 2 untouched towers for Sub here, as the Ice Wiz just gets a hair of chip damage.
Gang to the right, Princess to the left. And so far, we've seen no indication that LCOP has an answer for this.
If you are wondering about buying tickets to World Finals, the Goblinstein sound alone in the room is worth it.
Yeah, right? It's Halloween indeed.
And nice lightning there to clean up, but I like that there's no ability here, Rich. That would definitely have been just way too much spent too early on, and that is a good call there by LCOP as he evens things up.
Has gotten it very close. Evo Mega Knight comes out to ensure no Dark Goblin connection. And now we'll see, with the Evo Mega Knight in play, LCOP sitting on 7. Can he put something together here? There he goes.
And I do think this Evo Mega Knight could end up being the big problem, right? Because you have to have ground tanks plus the cannon or plus something else to help with it. But if the Evo Mega Knight is knocking everything around the map, that's when you start to lose control with this deck that Sub is running. And that is the one thing you cannot. Almost getting that Dark Goblin on. Great zap.
Yeah, good job of LCOP to cover, recognizing the purpose of that barrel, to open up the opportunity, to open up the lane for the Dark Goblin. Minute 50 remaining, triple elixir flying. Will it be the overwhelm of the beatdown or the pace of the bait?
Evo Skelly's up high, that baits out the zap. Shouldn't be a problem here with the guards. And that Goblinstein ability, it looked like it was maybe on tower, but it's so tough. If you miscalculate that by just that half a tile, at this level, it's almost throwing the game.
Ice Wiz played low, Dark Goblin. Not going to get on tower here, but LCOP has a choice to make.
True Goblins on the tower, left-hand side. Zap comes out. 689 remains on LCOP's left-hand tower.
Approaching the final minute. Triple elixir on its way. 6:08. And LCOP sets up to attack the weak side of Sub.
I like that call there, but it still baits out the Ice Wizard, which is not what Elsiop wants to do there.
And here we go. Does that Evo Bomber know the Dark Goblin goes down just in time to avoid a bigger problem? No connection from the Evo Bomber. That has not done much for him so far. And now high cannon for the Ram Rider. But a Goblinstein does get the ability on tower.
That's what I'm saying. That Mega Knight starts taking up way too much attention on the left-hand side. Then we see the defense slip on the right. One Goblin does stay alive, gets a couple stabs in, but no spell damage. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, there is no way for Sub to get damage other than Princesses at the Bridge or these barrels.
And this is a big choice to make as the Goblins come down. And that's one Goblin continuing to go.
And Elsiop has to win right now, Rich. He has to win on this push. Zap comes in.
Can he do it? Lightning needs to open something up. Not going to be anywhere near enough. And Sub takes game number 1.
You see that huge sigh of relief from Sub, and that was something that was so impressive from him all day yesterday. That's why he's got the Nomer Sub-Zero, because he is able to have that ice run through his veins. He's been doing nothing but playing in the biggest matches of his lives, falling and then succeeding. You know, we saw that yesterday. It was early mistakes. He was able to bounce back. Today, it was neck and neck, and right here you see him hold on all the way throughout against our former world champion.
And just low on answers for this situation was Elsiop.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about the classic barrel or the split barrel, or just figuring out how you do that in a way that creates offensive opportunities, just it was never there for him.
I would have loved to see just a little bit more utilization of that Evo Bomber. It's a great job at cleaning up the barrels. There was one point where the Evo Bomber was actually in front of the Goblinstein or behind. That Evo Bomber can turn a game on a dime like that. So if you just get a couple good connections there, obviously there was the moment where we were both thinking maybe that Dark Goblin gives him a setup. But in this situation, Elsiop needed to find another way to get to tower other than the Ram Rider, and that's the Bomber. And the Bomber just wasn't happening.
Now looking at these decks, Lightning and Zap out for Elsiop. No spells out for Sub. We saw this same story earlier today, making it a little bit harder for Elsiop to deck pick. And as we've talked about, Elsiop the only player who I've actually have seen him with some deck progression sheets, but I don't know if that's him working entirely on his own or how he's making these game plans.
I mean, look, man, we got no Mega Knight, we got no Bomber, we got no Goblinstein, we got no Lightning. I'm looking for some version of Pigs, Piggy with some Archer Queen. I think it would be, I mean, it might be very predictable, but it's also still going to be incredibly frustrating to deal with, right? If you get Piggy's AQ, you start splitting those pigs, Fireball doesn't matter anymore. You have to waste your spell power on top of the Archer Queen because you don't have Lightning. I think there's a great way here for Sub to maybe control the pace of this match with that deck. Obviously, I've said this for 7 years. If I'm thinking about it, the analysts are getting paid to think 3 steps ahead of that. But sometimes, as we've seen before, you know what I'm going to run. I'm going to run it game 1, and I'm going to win with it. So here we go in that same situation game 2-wise.
And one thing about Elsiop on his run to make the championship for CRCC, the Chinese region, and qualify here, he never ran delivery one time, never ran Log and Fireball together that entire time, right? So you think about some of those things like Piggies and that 1-2 punch, not there in most of the deck pool he's been comfortable with.
Yeah, and then the other side of it, when you look at the spells that were used, well, we'll talk about this as we hop into the very next game. Elimination on the line, Sub and Elsiop. Let's go. As I was saying, the spell power that was not used by Sub leaves so many things open, because there's also decks out there like Gobstein, Ram Rider, Lightning that then could clear the building, you know, so there's so many opportunities here for Sub to kind of open the field.
Bit of a slow start here.
And the room is silent, just hanging on the first move.
Everything's quiet. Almost too quiet.
Production telling us to never do that again.
Little Earthquake cycle, and Elsiop immediately sees the 3 Elixir and the shake of the head from Sub.
Making me think maybe he went with Hog instead of Piggies.
Very, very likely. And you never like being down 3 Elixir to a P.E.K.K.A drop in the back.
And there's the AQ, so Sub going right down the line of what I was thinking, but does that mean Elsiop was ready for it, as these Goblins will do great work for him throughout this matchup with that P.E.K.K.A, but obviously not quite as good as the Guards. And Elsiop Definitely thinking about it, Rich. Pekka, Fish Boy.
Oh.
Here's the pigs.
And
Battle Ram.
you know what? If you're good at something, keep on doing it. Elsiop going bridge spam twice in a row.
With Mother Witch, one of the most frustrating cards in the game. Luckily, having the delivery is sub. I got to look for a lot of value on the pigs.
Well,
the
look at
gob.
this. Look at this.
Wow.
Fireball in, Ghost gonna get on tower, and this is devastating.
It is insane how much value a Mother Witch can get and turn a game on a dime. No elixir in the tank though, down to 1. Will get the King Tower activation, but he's gonna take just as much damage from these pigs.
You know, I wonder if he made the same read that we did, that once he saw the shake of the head against, maybe he wasn't looking, but the shake of the head against the Pekka, that he assumed that he wasn't against pigs, he was against Hog. Instead, he finds himself against pigs after that overcommit.
11:48, 14:07. Both of them throw one huge handmaker to start as we get into double elixir.
For such a slow start, this has been such a crazy pace that happened in terms of the damage.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Goblins surround. There we go. High Mother Witch just looking for that value again. Now getting this Tesla out of cycle, that's going to be a problem. So Sub going to have to think about, all right, how am I going to deal with the ram behind the Pekka here from Elsiop? And that bomber, exactly. That bomber is a problem.
So now Elsiop going to sit on that Ghost maybe for the next Pigs push. Barrel comes in, nearly gets the prediction, not quite.
And you guys aren't seeing things. That is Sub's Archer Queen on the opposite side of the board, helping back on the other side of the board, which was able to stop that push.
It's like a game of dodgeball where you can shoot from the wrong side.
And getting this cycle in early, Sub already recognizing what he needs to do. He wants to win this game as soon as he can, because as this gets deeper and deeper, it's going to be a lot harder to keep up with, especially because that Mother Witch is going to start getting so much value. And that Fireball looking for Goblins, I believe.
And gets the tower connection from the Ghost, lead back to Elsiop.
Great Evo Bomber there. Shake of the head from Sub because he misses that piggy pull.
And this Ghost might get away here. Fire Spirit to stop it, didn't need it, 771 remains.
Small mistakes, Rich, back up against the wall.
And the EQ cycle from Sub just trying to prepare for the mad dash at the end.
I mean, Elsiop ran into this exact same problem yesterday, but unfortunately for his opponent, they made just a small misplay. He knows that this is about to be EQ cycled out to lose this game, but this is the last ditch effort for Elsiop. He needs to make something happen with that Evo Battle Ram.
Evo Pekka at the bridge. Evo Battle Ram trying to sneak through. Tesla back in cycle though, and it does pick up.
Delivery
Mother Witch
high.
on the right.
Delivery on top, there it is.
And looking to cover the pigs here, and so now the Ghost not getting involved at the bridge. 50 seconds left. Triple elixir flowing. He might have to fireball here as well, and he does. He gets
Great value.
Oh man!
Oh, he misses a couple though on the front end.
He had
and
to get
that's
the
gonna
Evo
do
Bomber.
it. That's gonna do it, Rich.
Oh my word! 35 seconds left. The last ditch effort for Elsiop. The Evo Tesla holding here at the bridge. Can he beat it out?
Defensive.
Fireball down, nothing to open up.
352, 192 has to catch that Fire Spirit. Second set of Peggy's in. There's no way to stop it.
This is gonna be it! And Sub takes the win!
Our former world champion has been eliminated. Our first world champion after a tough day one. He stays alive till the end of day two, as does Sub, moving on to day three.
And Sub just biding his time, recognizing some of the tough decisions he was forcing out of Elsiop, who had to keep on using Fireball on the board to break through. In the end, it came for Sub.
Oh my gosh, what a day for Sub. I can't imagine what's going through his mind. Let's find out, Juice.
Everybody is so impressed with how you keep your composure. How are you able to stay so calm in those difficult situations?
Estou tão impressionado com a sua compostura. Como conseguiu ficar calmo nas situações mais difíceis?
Eu me pergunto às vezes também, né, a felicidade de falar mais alto, mas eu acho bom não comemorar antes da hora e depois da vitória pode comemorar sim.
I find that I shouldn't commemorate before the win, so I just waited until the final moment to commemorate.
Awesome. My next question is simply, why, or what were you thinking when you just played Pekka in the back first play?
O que pensou quando o LCOP jogou a P.E.K.K.A na Torre do Rei na primeira jogada?
Sinceramente, eu dei risada, obviamente, né? Quem assistiu a partida viu. Mas é uma jogada que hoje em dia está normal e hoje em dia é uma jogada muito boa.
Honestly, I thought the play was very good, and everyone has been doing that. So yes, it was very good.
Give it up one more time for Sub!
So, Rich, you're telling me that if I play P.E.K.K.A in the back first play, I could maybe make it to CRL World Finals as a player?
I'm going to say no. No, that's physically impossible for the majority of us, but for the greats, they can get it done. And a big shout out to our last-minute translator stepping in to make sure we can get some insights from Sub. We appreciate your extra help out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we were all dying to hear what was going through his mind throughout the day. So now that he's able to celebrate his win, you know, yesterday I heard that he was trying to keep it all together on stage. We saw a little bit more of a smile out of Sub today, knowing he's going to day 3.
Well, that's a big win, right? It's not like LCOP made it easy. You have to still execute in those moments. But I think you talked about the composure. We talked about it down there as well. Sub just keeping it together and playing mistake-free Clash Royale in a situation that could blow up in his face.
And the other thing about this deck that we didn't really talk about is you don't really have that stun that you have usually with this deck, right? Whether it's the Ice Spirit or the Log, something like that. So that was another really impressive thing that Sub was able to put together. He opted for just a little bit more DPS, and I think that was exactly the way to go.
Yeah, the Mother Witch was always being right at the bridge, and we saw those deliveries taking care of it. You know, hindsight is 2020, and I bet you LCOP's going to go back and watch that game and go, what could I have done a little differently here to make that work?
Yeah, it's so tough because I think he saw so much damage come in early on from that first Mother Witch plus Royal Ghost push, right?
Yeah.
Piggy's coming in with the Royal Ghost, and it just ended up being something that kind of was distracting him the rest of the game.
Well, let's take a look at our caster predictions as I finally get one wrong. After a tremendous run. Oh, I did get Ta wrong as well.
Oh, why do I always have to come in second or third? I just need one win in my life, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice work by Juicy J with the content pick in our first one.
Yeah, we're going to call him out. He said he just wanted to pick Pedro because he wanted to go against the grain. So I'm not going to give him that. It's like a half a point, Juicy.
All of us agreeing on Mo, Riley, and Lucas, and I'm sad to see the end of LCOP, but we have our final 4, Andrew, the potential champion.
Wow.
The next champion will be here with us tomorrow as we have an interesting road where 2 of the guys are just 2 potential wins away. Sub and Lucas, a lot of work to do.
I mean, Rich, when we looked at this tournament, this 1, 2, 3, as you see in Mohamed Light, Riley, and Lucas, was probably something that a lot of people were anticipating, hoping for, expecting. Sub, he's the dark horse here. For me, for anyone else, I am so happy to fall on that sword. I was wrong. He came off of points. I didn't see him in monthly finals very much, but consistency came through. And you can see the ice in his veins plus the consistency has translated to a wonderful performance on the World Finals stage.
And what a treat we have tomorrow. We get to start things off with this phenomenal matchup of Mohamed Light and Riley, guys who have been, they're such close friends. We'll be talking about that all day tomorrow. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I cannot wait to get into it. Let's do it right now. Let's wrap up the day so we can all go to sleep and see our finals tomorrow.
Was about as crazy as it could possibly get. Mohamed Light was able to continue his dominance. You know, I'd say like we all expected. Riley was able to stay in the upper bracket with a close win over Sub. Lucas, he wasn't all too happy with his gameplay, but I know he's ecstatic to make day 3. And Sub, we just saw it, staying cold as ice, beating LCOP.
The games were so close today. Everyone was a nail biter. We said goodbye to 3 players. Today and tomorrow, we will crown our champion. Same time, same place for day 3 of the Clash Royale League World Finals tomorrow.